And
Let's get started.
5:30 meeting is, I mean, it's cocktail time for commissioners. I don't know what the rest of you. This 5:30 meeting, we usually have ours after breakfast. So.
Right.
All right, why don't you open your meeting?
Okay. City Secretary, we have a quorum this evening with all council members present and accounted for. Proof of notice of meeting, please.
Yes, thank you. Let me just- no worry. All right, notice of this meeting was posted by 6 p.m. on September 24th.
Okay, great, thank you. And this is a joint workshop, which means we allow participation from the audience. It's one of the least formal meetings that we have. Normally during a meeting, you can only speak during a couple of times, but during a workshop, you can engage with us at any time. And with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the judge and he'll direct us.
All right, we'll call this meeting of the Commissioners Court for Brewster County to order September 30th, 2025. I think it's appropriate. Let's all rise and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, everybody. All right, I do have a public comment section, which we can skip over, or if anybody does anybody want to make a comment and they want to go on, so they don't have to look for the 11 people running on for an hour. People are doing this. It's up to y'all. This is kind of all the deal.
If it's a great meeting presentation, I would like to comment on the branding. This is a good time.
Sure, let's go. Let's kick it off with that. That'd be great.
All right, well, most of you didn't know me, I'm Martin Bennett. I've lived out here since the early 80s. And one of the things that I noticed, and I moved here from Houston, and I'll bring up a couple of quick points. You know, population of Alpine hasn't changed much in the last 30 years, but the population of the county has. And even though we only have 1.5 people per square mile over here, 40 years ago when I came out here, there was no Double Diamond, there was no Loma del Norte, there was no McIntyre, it was only Sunny Glen, and there weren't that many people out there. I know that there's the discussion is going to be about how to brand the county and the city and all of this. And I know there's a lot of interest in dark skies, which I'm certainly for, and we should definitely have the designation of being the dark sky area. I just don't feel that that's going to be the drawing card to get people to come out here. You know, if they were, they'd probably go to Jeff Davis County to go to the observatory. But I've noticed that big cities like Houston, San Antonio, the people are moving out. But where they're moving to is the closest small town that they can get to. And because they still have jobs. So they move out. But what happens, so many of them move out. And the next thing you know, it just becomes an extension of that city. And one of the differences that we have here in Alpine, why we haven't grown massive amounts, is our distance away from everybody else. And perhaps that along with the things that we have, of course, being the biggest county, we should be drawing on the fact that that's the idea that it's the biggest county. All the things that make us different than the rest of Texas, we don't have. We should be clear about the things we don't have, or promote the things that we don't have as opposed to what we do have. We don't have high crime, we don't have traffic. You have to go 100 miles to the west to get to the first traffic light, 200 miles east, 65 miles north and south, you gotta go into Mexico just to get a stoplight. And those are things that people who are living in the big city are fed up with, basically. You know, these are some of the driving factors that they have. And so I just wanted to make a few comments. Some of you who have been here a long time, you might remember when on east end of Alpine, there was a sign, a conquistador. Does anybody remember that? It used to hang in the railroad police for a while. I don't know if it's still there. But Highway 90 was forever 30, 40 years ago called the Old Spanish Trail. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to bring that as part. And I want to say too, there's no one magic bullet. I can't tell you this is the slogan, this is going to bring people in, and this, or this is the idea that's going to, but there's a combination of things that will bring people in. And I think drawing from things that have worked in the past, it might be a good idea. The things that we don't have, we don't, and here once again, there should be different promotions, one for to get tourists over here, and other to get people to live over here. We have the space. We are an island in the desert. We are totally separated from, we're 60 miles from the closest interstate. We have a buffer zone. And people aren't taking day trips out here because, unless they're coming from Fort Stockton or Van Horn. And unless Van Horn and Fort Stockton blow up, Alpine's never gonna blow up. And we don't necessarily want that to happen to begin with. But, one of the thoughts of promotion that I thought might be something is to invite people here, but be selective. For instance, something along the line of Brewster County, we have room for you, but maybe not your friends. Did someone say maybe, or, things of that nature. The fact that we only have 1.5 people, that's a drawing card. The fact we are the only part of Texas that's totally different than the rest of Texas. We all know this, but the rest of Texas don't. If you go to Del Rio, they don't drive west, they only drive east. They're not going this direction. So there should be some spot advertising to bring people from that direction. We dare to be different. We want to be different, and that's the type of thing that I think we should be promoting. There was I'm sure you'll remember this being 20, 30 years ago. Texas had a slogan for their advertising that said something to the effect of Texas is a whole nother country. Well, we're a whole nother Texas. We don't make the steal that they're at, but that's the thing that we should be promoting above and beyond. I say the dark skies is important. That should be part of our itinerary, but I don't think that should be the spearhead. I think spearhead should be the fact that we're totally different than the rest, that we're hard to get to, or even harder to leave once you get it. And I think that's the kind of thing that we need to be promoting as far as our branding. And as I say, we don't have the high crime, we don't have the traffic, we don't have the gangs, all the ill that the big cities have. We're not a utopia, but we certainly don't have all the problems that they have. And so I think those are the things that we should be promoting, and that basically that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, just apologize to everybody in this room. My name is Randall Kinsey. I'm a resident of Fort Davis, longtime listener and advertiser with KAPLFALP, and I grew up here, went to public school. So I worked with a company called Wild Yeti Films and 12 Rounds Media. We're a full service media agency, and we've been doing dark skies promotions for Visit Big Bend, Brewster County Tourism, since 2018. I also should add that my wife and I own and operate a motel in Delhi and Fort Davis. And here's what I want to say, is that dark skies that's a cow you can milk. If you can get it in the barn, you can milk that cow, so to speak. I hate to use those cows, but that's what it is. It's probably, if I had to rate the top 5 of what my guess and my experience in tourism, which goes back probably over 20 years, I would say that's the big drawing card. South County, American Motel, himself. He hosts our parties. Fort Davis, of course, has the McDonald Observatory. There's a lot of sky. There's a lot of places to see it. And I think it's something that, and I really thought it was timely, Greg, that you brought it up, excuse me, Judge, that you brought it up. And I'm here already working in that capacity to promote the Tri-County area and the dark skies. And I am here to tell you, be encouraged by what can be drawn from that. Because it's a drawing card and there is a public that is carrying their own money. And the last thing I want to say to your point about bringing in, because that's the other thing, you do have to get bodies to live here. A friend of mine, Joe Nicolas, used to be a editor, publisher emeritus for Texas Monthly, had a saying in his book. He says, if you're going to move to Austin, bring your money with you. Well, if you're going to move out here, bring your money with you. So you might want to, that's a good approach. But going back to the dark sky, I would love to be a part of that conversation more so than we are already in the professional standpoint. But I think it really needs to be discussed how Alpine and how Big Bend, Jeff Davis, and Presidio County extensively, how those all work out. It's going to take a lot of effort. But I'm encouraged by what y'all want to do here. So we stand ready to support you.
Thank you, Randy. Now, one of the things Brewster County adopted last week was a tax on the Fort Davis residents, so you and Judge will need to be a little night.
I mean, I can't come over and vote.
No, so if you don't pay tax, no, it's the thing. So part of this tonight is we both have ordinances and regulations that'll be coming into effect next spring, that we codified some years ago. And part of the discussion tonight is, and I'll speak for myself, I'm sort of more of a carrot than a stick, regulations and ordinances. People don't want to be don't. Daryl says that all the time, don't, right? So how do we carrot, not stick it, but how do we also encourage the dark sky? And I agree with both of you and Martin that it's not all about dark skies. But when Denton, Texas makes a statement in Texas Monthly that they're the dark sky city, I'm thinking Denton, Texas, right? I think we all have owned that, our Tri-County area all own that. So good stuff. That's where what you have to do.
Howdy, Brian Devonshire, I'm Chair Nagla. I recently launched an astro-tourism company in the spring called Astro Mucho, and we're servicing mobile observatory, dark sky, telescope rental sort of things. There's absolutely a demand. I'm hearing from so many guests, especially in South County, that they are coming here specifically for the dark sky. It's a building industry. I think within a decade, astro-tourism is going to be a greater draw than river tourism. And I just wanted to announce my existence, and I'm happy to help South County in any ways to promote the dark sky. Thank you.
If I just have one more thing, and that is, in Van Horn, you can go to San Antonio two different ways. You can take I-10, or you can get off at Van Horn and take Highway 90 to Del Rio. It is 26 miles difference. And if there was a billboard in Van Horn that said scenic route to San Antonio, and then it can be paid for not by just Alpine, but everybody on Highway 90 to get off that.
So we have two goals tonight. One is to talk about the dark skies, and then we are going to talk about economic development and how we can work all collectively on economic development, because it's so important to our community, which kind of goes back to Martin, what you said earlier. So any other comments on dark sky? Yeah.
Yes, I'm Curtis Evans, I'm the county judge in Jeff Davis County.
Money.
Money. Yeah, I got you. The other night we were doing a photo shoot, and up on top of the mountain in my place, we were getting the Texas Rangers in the Milky Way, so it's a very unique shot. And I mean, it's going to be amazing when it does come out. But when we were up on the mountain, we had to do a lot of filtering in order to block Alpine out. And I'm not blaming, believe me, I'm not saying, we're here to help, and working with McDonald Observatory
They are awesome to work with. They don't point fingers. They have solutions for your lives. And they're willing to do this because it helps them. So, and we're here as neighbors to help, not condemn. Please understand that. And we all want that because it, like Randy was saying, like you're saying, it's beneficial to our area. And we need to encourage more people to come out here and bring their money. All right, that's all I have.
Councilman, council persons and commissioners, how do y'all, you have any comments? You want to start something? Thoughts on our y'all's is ordinances, I guess ours is regulations. They're very similar. I think they're almost exactly alike for all intents and purposes. And so,
And I just passed around a copy of the city of Alpine's ordinance. It goes into effect, is it July 26th? July 26th is when we start enforcing it. The McDonald Observatory has been out, they have helped individuals become dark sky compliant and have helped businesses become dark sky compliant, so they are ready to work with us. And also, I'm a member of the Big Bend Natural History Association, and last week, we had a meeting with the superintendent of the park, the acting superintendent. And he said their number one draw is the dark skies, and there are events focused around dark skies. They had over 200 people at one event in which they had telescopes out. They're very excited about that. They said that's the number one tourism draw to the park, the dark skies.
this is sort of an interesting phenomenon. It's been around, obviously, been around for a long time. But the far flung that I sold is now very involved in dark sky tourism. And I don't know what's triggered this interest. All of a sudden, don't you agree that
Use of technology.
is that what it is? Because it's really strong.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my sense is we've all got the stick influence. I think our challenge is the carrots, particularly when you think about the businesses and the facilities that really brighten things up. We live up on the side of Hancock Hill. And I can tell you, we have this little courtyard that we see the glow of alpine lights up on Hancock Hill. It tends to be the big sports facilities, Coconut, Jackson Field, Buck Stadium, because they're lit up and so bright. And in all the stuff we've talked with Steve about, from the Down Observatory, that's where there are real opportunities. And my sense is none of them have the financial resources to go turn their facility into a dark sky facility. Because you're right, Judge, the capabilities out there, that's not the issue. But the dollars to go do it is where the big hole is. So I think one of the things collectively we can think about is how do we go help them get the resources necessary to modify the lights? Because it's more than just turning them down. It is really redesigning what goes on. And I think if we work at, because every morning I'm up, the football team's out there working on Jackson Field. Every night, the football team's out there in Jackson Field, and the glow is there on the ball. It's going on, whether it's Cowboys, whether it's ISD, or whether it's Sawgrass. Those things are going on until 11, 12 o'clock at night, and there's the glow. And what are they playing? Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, when people really want to see the dark sky. So I think that's our opportunity. Do I have a solution? No, but I think collectively we need to spend time on that.
I mean, it's a dumb question. Can you actually shield sports stadium lights?
Yes.
The lights in South
That you don't compromise the safety of the players?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that Steve Hummel's got a whole design for that, about how that works.
Okay.
He actually showed us in city council a couple, 3 years ago. Actually, we were doing the ordinance for the first time. Examples of stadiums that have gone from the way they were to the way they are now. It is remarkable in terms of being.
You have to go to like LED lights or something like
It's
that?
a LED light and it's the turn down, but it tends to be more the LED lights. But it has to do with the design of the whole fixture. And it takes into account, if you're a ball player, you're going to catch a fly out in center field, it's not going to blind you. If you're a football player going to grab a pass, it's not going to blind you. So they have figured all this out. So it might be worthwhile to get Steve to spend some time with us to say, and we got to pull in Carlos, how to pull in Michelle, and start having the dialogue with them in a way that says, show us the designs, what are the costs,
how can we collectively get there? Because I think it's gonna take us helping them to get dollars.
Judge, what have y'all done in Jeff Davis County with your sports lights? Have you shielded those or?
They are just moving, they have worked with McDonald's to turn them down. They're still bright. But we reduced the time they're on, working with that, on Friday nights.
Oh, so it's a hangover, get them off.
Yeah, they're not on them all. But that's about all we have done. That's our worst drawback is as far as the light pollution for theirs. We worked with the Dollar General, it was really bright and it affected some telescopes. They worked with us, no problem. So it can be done.
I haven't been in McCoy's in a while, but one of the things I noticed is how do we encourage our local vendors to carry a wide array of dark sky fixtures? Now, you can order them online, we've done that.
Yeah.
But, you know, how can we encourage McCoy's and make sure they carry a dark line, a dark sky line?
So in many cases, they do have them to be able to use. You just gotta go, it's 2,700 Kelvin, that's the light color as opposed to 6,000. So get 2,700 Kelvin, and they've got fixtures. It's just a matter of
The right one.
going in and picking out the right one. Because if you want a 6,000, I guarantee you got 6,000.
Rich, you got you're right on the cusp, you're putting in lights. And how do you handle the dark sky? Do you,
Shields,
you have access to people? If I say to you, hey, can you dark sky my house? You can get me those fixtures and stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have vendors and things like that and that work with us and, you know, a lot of it's shielding. The Kelvin lighting is big. You know, your 2,700, which is more of your yellowish light, which, you know, doesn't really affect skies and stuff a whole lot, you know, and then when you get up the higher up to like the 6,000, that's when it's super bright light.
Yeah.
But yes, sir.
One of the partners in this was AEP. And a great example of what they do is their equipment guard on 1703, right when you turn off. They have tall lights, and if you catch them in a misty night or something, they are just nothing strays outside of there. So it's absolutely beautiful what they can do.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
I'd like to add to what Rick said, and you mentioned AEP over in Jeff Davis County where Boys Camp meeting is. We just redid 3-year project, redid all the electrical. I mean, it needed it. I mean, there's like cloth insulation. Anyway, we worked with the observatory, and they were real helpful, and AEP was great. But that they would help as well.
Good point. Yeah, I would say that the county and the city, of course, have got to set the example. I will brag and say that we've got courthouse dark sky certified by my observatory, but we need to do all our buildings to make sure they are. I assume you guys do the same. I mean, how do you ask people to comply with dark sky when we're not dark sky ourselves? So that's priority one for us to make sure, you know, still providing security. We have to do that, but we're compliant. And I think this is all good stuff. You know, one thing, Mark, you can't ignore is we're getting almost 600,000 visitors a year to the national park.
Oh, certainly, it was $58 million last year alone.
And there are 2 ways in for all intents and purposes. Yeah. Marathon and Alpine. We own both port of entries. And so how do we perform? We used to call it a cash active. How do we perform more cash activities on the visitors that come to our area? Get them to stay a couple more nights, eat in our restaurants, enjoy our dark skies. That's a built-in cushion, and then from there we grow to people that move out here and do other things. So I think we're sitting on a gold mine. South County's seen it. We've seen a huge growth in South County, but I think it's opportunities for everybody. So
I
it
know,
comes with its issues. I think.
I know there's a, what do you call the meeting of the 4, what do you call it, Catherine? Where you get Carlos and you and the huddle.
The leadership huddle.
In my mind, this is a perfect discussion for the next huddle. And talk to Carlos and Michelle about, and I'll talk to Ben Teleska because he's got responsibility for facilities at St. Ross. Because I know when they put new lights out on the parking lot facing Avenue B, the first thing I got was complaints out of Ward 5 residents. So those lights are going boom, And they are very bright. And so I've talked to Ben Arda, let's get them turned down and change the color from 6,000 to 2,700, but it's the broader discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know they just got a funding cut, so they're not exactly excited about spending more money, but what the hell.
Well, that's AEP thing's an interesting idea, because maybe there's some reservoir of some funds there that they might want to help us.
Yeah.
I guess it would be nice to, let's just pick one stadium, let's just take the Alpine football field and say,
Yep.
okay, what would it cost to retrofit that?
You luck, yeah.
And get an idea of what that would cost. Is it $1 million, $10 million, $500,000, and then we can extrapolate from there.
Yep.
I think that'd be a useful exercise to see what that would cost.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we just charge them for Davis.
Yeah,
It's a little extra fee.
If
I love the alternatives. I think it's safe to say that we will begin to enforce these regulations. I mean, obviously slowly. Darryl, you got any thoughts on, last thing I got is your guys want to do is go out and give somebody a ticket and like it's shining in somebody else's yard. I think we've got to find a way. We don't need neighbors, paddling on neighbors. That doesn't work. So I think we've got to find a way to say, maybe through peer pressure or kind of guilt, like your house is dark and mine.
Well, I think the city's done a lot as far as working with, providing the resources for the people to get the correct lamps, for free.
Yeah.
And so, that's a big step. So we can't say, well, I can't afford it. Well, city's provided this service for you. So, I mean, I can change the light bulb and fixture, they can do it, I can't, anybody else can.
So on the city side though, since we're the bright ones, we probably ought to talk about a strategy of inventorying our businesses. Because we know where most of the light's coming from, 6790 going through town. And then 118 north or 118 south. My sense is that's where probably most of the pollution's coming from. So we ought to figure out our strategy so all of us can go talk to our constituent businesses. So for example, up on the east side of town, most of those are in Ward 5.
I came in last night after 10 o'clock. I was going to go see girls volleyball.
Yeah.
And I got in after 10, and the football field in Jacksonville, they were completely on. There was nobody on the field, and that's.
Yep.
That's just.
Not only a waste of money, but
They could be, yeah.
Let me ask a question of the city real quick. So Belinda wants to take the flower shop and make that some dark sky fixtures. Is it gonna be a regulatory hassle to change out a fixture?
No, I've already talked to
So
her.
you're gonna make it easy for businesses that wanna do that. I don't think they have to have a permit.
No.
No,
All right, so I've fallen up on that one. Don't need a permit, you can change it out, you're good.
Okay.
yes.
Can I change it out or do I have to have a follow master electrician do it?
Your choice, Mr. Scott, you do it.
Yeah.
If I do, it'll burn the place down.
Now we got another problem.
If Daryl can do it, anybody can do it. Okay, so we could,
Yes.
that's not a bad message
Right.
to say, hey, you make the dark sky conversion, there's no strings attached.
That's right.
Could that go on the electric? Well, no, it didn't. Oh, but I guess it could go. I don't know, how do we get that message out? Because that was the word I got. when they-
So,
You can do it. Yeah.
we put it on Facebook, Daryl wants the Facebook. We put it on the radio with Martin. We put it in the newspaper with Karen.
I mean, could we do a dark sky property of the week or the month or the year or something like that and do some sort of fun thing that would, put.
I think that's a great
put picture
idea.
of somebody's house that they would be willing to let us take a picture of their house and say you just won the dark sky and here's, a hamburger at Sonic or something.
Right.
I had to just a most improvement award,
There you go.
because if we can shine a light, so to speak, on a business that's performing well already, but always has. But if we can incentivize change, maybe.
Before and after.
The prize,
Yeah.
or you made the
Yeah.
biggest shift.
I think reward though, really recognize the people that are making,
Those are our carrots.
yeah, that's our carrots.
Well, what I could do as far as mine, of course, the newspaper goes, is that I
reworked the page 5, which is the rock slides with all the information and activities going on. And instead of just going out and trying to, get people to answer questions and take their mug shots for the herd on the street, because people are very, I love a picture made. I've gone up to the museum and I've taken photos of different, highlighted different artists. And then I've gone around the area and I've taken photos of random things in the county and in town. And like, have you seen this picture? Go to our Facebook page and tell us what you know about it. So that's something at least on a private residence as opposed to a business that if you wanted to highlight one, like this is of the month or whatever, we can highlight that on that page real easy. It's good.
Brands don't, brands are, slogans and things like that. It's quality and delivery of the service and nowadays in hospitality and brands are just added to the ambiance of it. But do we want to copyright a brand, Dark Skies, capital of Texas? And I would incorporate that to include the 3 counties, Presidio, Jeff Davis, and Alpine. I mean, in Brewster, I realized when we get big and, we can make all of West Texas, the 3 counties are real important. And could we all claim that we're the Dark Sky capital of Texas? I just think we ought to own the brand. Why wouldn't we? I don't know. And I think tourism money is an appropriate spend for that. So if we need to I don't know if you have to formally copyright that name, but
How does the legislature do it?
trademark it.
Because don't they usually hand out those capital designations?
I look at that.
I thought I saw somebody that had just gone through the legislature and had been awarded a certain brand like that. Does anybody else have any ideas of how that's done?
Yeah, we had that, highest designation, the highest highway in Texas. That was just through the legislature. Out here at area.
I really like the sign idea. You could even say, follow this route to the darkest skies in Texas. So you could play that billboard idea. I think we're gonna do that Monday. I like that.
Judge, you're gonna, and then, we've been discussing that you've had some. There are gonna be some people push back, you can't tell me what to do.
Sure.
And I wouldn't worry about them. Don't worry about fighting them, just say, we're just trying to do this for everybody. And if you don't participate, that's your choice.
Right. Yes, I agree. I don't think it's worth the energy to fight people over it. Yeah, it's my opinion.
So 2 things. One, Mayor Eads, about to be done on the important side, also Daryl, is that your rezoning permit. Say, okay, here's the new requisites, the council would have to approve it, ordinance readings. And then when I come in to get my retro fit, there'll be available to me a list of optional dark sky lighting approved fixtures.
Right.
On the
ordinance for sure.
I mean, because through permitting and zoning, that takes care of that. For the guy that doesn't want to comply, well,
Isn't that something that we already did? As far as the.
that's good.
Yeah.
I just want y'all to be prepared, it's going to get, you're gonna have some fun with it.
Oh, sure. You make a move, we'll just do it.
Judge Kemp on those.
You have to do businesses would cooperate, and the second thing with what Kara and Chris and you were talking about, Steve, Hummel used to on their Facebook page on the businesses that he worked directly with in the dark sky retro conversions, he would feature them, and it's a before and after photo. And just say, hey, congratulations to, I'll use mine, Stone Village for, covering your light, covering your porch light, here's the before and here's the end.
Kind of what Chris would do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the last thing, I'll throw in my comment, we were talking in Marathon, when we were shooting with Dark Skies of the Big Ben, problem Marathon's Fort Stockton. And if you go up onto a star party in Mount Lock, you can see every single oil field, every single pipe yard, you see it all. I mean, they on purpose, they pointed out with their letters saying, That's Pecos, Texas, that's Odessa, Texas, that's Fort Stockton, Texas. And it'll wake, it wakes the attendees at the start party, it gives them the idea, because remember, they're coming from places where they've never seen the Milky Way. In the earthquake in the early, late nineties, 2000, the city of Los Angeles was inundated, their 911 lines were inundated with strange objects in the sky. The strange object was the Milky Way. No one, it's a true story, no one had ever seen the Milky Way. So there you go.
No, it seems that the commercial businesses take a big hit, but it's not, it's also the neighbors. Your light may not affect the overall sky, but it sure affects your neighbors' enjoyment of the sky. And so you're talking about, education, but isn't there an enforcement component that, at some point you gotta go for the stick and not the carrot?
I mean, I think when you can directly prove that somebody's putting a light straight into your into your patio, and it's not, there's no intent to shield it, I think that's probably where the stick has to come in and sometimes, I think,
Can't protest that.
there are some folks that are obstinate and will just say, well, I don't care about the neighbor, I'm gonna shine my light in the neighbor's yard, so I don't know. That's a subjective thing, I get, but.
But is there any grief in any of this that we're looking at?
Yeah,
There is.
There is.
This is like trespass, by the way, when your light infringes on your neighbors, it's like trespassing.
Right.
And so there's teeth in that.
And the light starts in
July
July.
1st. It does.
that's not
Marion County.
May 26th.
So what's he have to do?
And you gotta be careful because I don't want neighbors on neighbors,
Right.
I don't want to start that. Neighbors on neighbors, but there are some.
It's already happening.
There's some agreements, yeah, things. Meredith, I'm not Meredith, where are you?
We already had that fight where, some of the people went in there and highlighted some of the other people's lights and they were the last ones to comply with it. They were the ones bitching, but their lights were not.
This is Brian.
So, I mean, you're gonna have that everywhere, you're gonna.
Well, Judge is right, we're gonna have to figure it out.
But the other four don't point back to you,
Okay, anything else on dark skies that we want? I think we've got that one whipped. I've got some ideas about shielding lights, big ones, some leadership topics to talk about how we can do that across our various entities, AEP funding, maybe dark sky capital branding. So we got some stuff there.
What will be our next steps as far as a group?
I don't know, good question.
I mean, do we want to reconvene at some point and talk about how we're
I
progressing?
think having this meeting is important, maybe every 6 months or so, we get back together, see kind of how we've moved the needle a little bit. Or maybe some new ideas, I mean, I've got some great ideas tonight,
Yeah, March.
what do you think? So,
We don't,
Thank council.
y'all are communication a lot. aren't you?
We are.
yeah,
Go ahead.
We are.
We'll communicate.
we'll communicate.
Okay.
Tell us.
Our huddle or at our monthly breakfast, whatever.
Well, if the growth you wanna encourage, we don't have the groundwork in, the new things coming in are gonna be to fight the battle all over again. So if we can get a good policy in place that, the third DG was very good at their outdoor lighting.
They were.
Learned from the first and the second, and the third one was good. Yours is very
The
good.
one down south,
Mhm. So
we work with them a lot.
I was gonna ask if they were good.
There was a lot of back and forth, there's a lot of not understanding. You would think that having built so many in the area, they would know, but every time it's like a whole new company is doing the job and they've never heard of a lighting ordinance. So there was a lot of communication back and forth, and with help from Stephen also, we got them almost compliant. But they turn off the lights, so that's the most important thing.
All right.
So y'all have a policy that's very similar to this. It goes into effect in May.
May 26th.
Okay.
We're right there lockstep, and I think whoever, when y'all did this, when I wasn't around, you did it intentionally to.
Bill Wren, coordinated all of
So
the
the-
ordinances, the counties and the cities, so that he could go after that greater international Big Bend Dark Sky reservation.
Yes.
Was his goal. It was a coordinated effort, thanks to him.
Good.
All right, moving on to the next topic, which is probably, there's probably not a day goes by as county judge that this topic doesn't come up, and that's economic development. So I don't know that we need to recreate the 13 ways to ruin your city here. That's we've done that one. But I think it's absolutely imperative that the city and the county are on the same page. Look, when I did the budget this year, it was very apparent to me that what we are doing right now in our county, I'll speak for the county, is we're just churning the values that we already have. The same people, those of us in the room, are just churning our values. We're not, and there isn't a whole lot of way out. Not that I want big government or spend a bunch of money in government, but it's ad valorem taxes, sales taxes, and a little nothing here and there. You guys have some proprietary revenue that we don't have. But at the end of the day, it became glaringly obvious to me that without growth, we're going to be stagnant in an ever rising expense market. I mean, wages don't go down, expenses don't go down. So economic good, well thought out economic growth, to me, is essential to the success of our county. If you look at the population statistics by the state of Texas, we're projected to have a 5 to 6% decline in population over the next 10 to 20 years. So they're predicting our population will actually decline. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but right off the bat, it says we're not growing. And so, look, I'm not advocating that we put in tire dumps and nuclear wastes, and we're gonna have to have some thoughtful decisions. Because let me tell you, AI's coming, wind's coming, solar's coming, small nuclear reactors are coming, they're all coming. And our only, at least in the county, you guys probably won't see it in the city, but our only leverage is when they ask for an abatement, then we can negotiate the goodies that come with that.
Right.
Otherwise, the county has virtually no power to stop an AI. If Martin, you want to sell your land to an AI center, we can't stop it. We can do a septic tank thing, but that's about it. So, but they'll all want abatements. And when they want abatements, then we have a chance to say, okay, in return for that, we're gonna give it to you. So we're gonna have to have, I know the commissioners are gonna have to talk about kind of being ready for it. Now, hopefully our lack of water and our poor electricity, particularly in South County, will prevent a lot of that from coming here. My personal philosophy is that we're a tourism corridor. You know where I'm coming from because I'm biased. I think that, I'd let all the other people have a lot of stuff. If we can continue to drive the economic, the tourism and quality of life, I can live without the AI personally, but I don't think we can ignore it either because it's going to be knocking on our door. We just met last week with the Association of Counties and all the counties, and the money's big, guys. It's really big, and so the money becomes the overwhelming driving force. I mean, all of a sudden, the county has an extra 10 to 15 to 20 million dollars in the bank account.
Yep.
Right.
We're all humans, so it's tempting to say, well, we could solve a lot of problems with the next, and so could we. We had an extra 40 million in our bank. So that's number one. And number two, how do we work together to develop economic? And I'm going to challenge that we have a pot of money, y'all have a pot of money. We absolutely ought to, if we're going to go economic development, let's form a small working group and figure out how we want to do that together. I think you guys standing alone, us standing alone, is a losing purpose. I think we need it. So that's my speech, and I'll shut up.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yeah, well, we put money in the budget for economic development. It's part of the budget we put into this year. We've got to go hire someone to go do that. But in my view, there is an opportunity to work together. The city's 4.6 square miles. So from an economic development AI, my view, we're out of the game. We're not even close.
We're going to be in the game.
Yeah, you're gonna be in the game. And I did the analysis. Being Native American, my tribe, we have lots of acreage. We're looking at in Southern California, we're looking at developing land for something like that. But we're evaluating that city standpoint. I do think there is an opportunity to share. We ought to go figure that out. We know we struggle with leadership on things like chambers and others. I happen to be the one that holds the money from the former Chamber of Commerce of Alpine. I've kept that not-for-profit alive, praying and hoping there's some leadership picks up to work it. But I think we have to have a plan. So I'm in line with, we ought to agree to figure out how to go do that. What it looks like is not clear.
Councilmember Escobedo?
I definitely like the idea of us working together. The more we, get together, the more our ideas can come to life, and we definitely need, I mean, I constantly get from people, why don't you bring this or that, you know, and we are seeing that a lot of people leaving, you know, and why aren't they staying here? Well, they're wanting another grocery store, they're wanting a shoe store, they're wanting a clothing store. So if we can't keep the people here, they're going out and either ordering online or they're going out of town consistently. I haven't heard anything different, you know, they want us to do something. And, you know, the city alone or the county alone is, you know, we gotta join forces in order to make these things come together.
There's models across Texas that all of us have visited. They're doing a good job of developing the communities. You know, we've used Mason over and over. Mason, Marble Falls, San Saba, Coleman. The list goes on and on of people that have gotten together. Castroville, for example, is doing they're watching San Antonio come right up on top of them. And so their attitude is, we either gonna control this or San Antonio will control it. And they've taken that, they've done some interesting developments within the community, using their own resources to do some real estate projects. So it's out there, we could do it, we just have to figure out how to.
Councilmember Stevens?
My sense is one of the challenges that we have that no one else has, similar to what Martin mentioned, is our geographic isolation, if I could use that term. The success of those small towns, and I have yet to see one who's like us that has successfully grown, because they're all within 45 minutes of a large metropolitan area. I've never seen one yet, as an example, that's been successful developing their small town beyond where they're at when they're more than 45 minutes away.
Moab, Utah.
So that's one. So we ought to go look at them. And
Who was that judge? I'm sorry.
Moab, Utah.
what does Moab have? And can we take advantage of that?
No, they got so big that they've had to turn off their advertising.
Yeah.
They have the opposite problem.
Yeah, but if we can figure that out, there's the opportunity. But to your point,
Yes.
I'm like you, I believe it's tourism. That's where our opportunity is. How do we get people here? And spend, keep their money.
Yeah, they come, they spend money, and they get involved.
Yeah, that's what we want. Yep.
Some of them stay, buy houses.
Yep.
Yeah, we want that, but
But people need more jobs than just making beds and waiting tables.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, a lot.
Councilmember Lucas?
I don't really want to beat the dead horse, but I mean, I'm in agreement with it. I think there's tons of avenues that folks want to go about, and I've had conversations with Josh Russell, how he thinks we could turn this into dark skies and mountain bike, like, or metropolis, if you will. And you look at some of these places that have started smaller mountain bike parks and they've grown into multi-million-dollar facilities. It's insane, and it's just a few acres, you know. And so we got a lot of resources that I think we could pull together if we would.
Well, Darren brought that up before me.
One thing I would just mention on that is when the council and the commissioners are talking about public money, and I'm sure you're talking HOT money to retrofit some of the lighting in dark skies. You know, that was, who knows, 1,000, 100,000, 200,000. The major investors in this area are public entities, Sol Ross, the county, and the city, and you know, it's all public money. If we don't have a strong private sector in my mind, so it's whatever you guys can do to really go in and build money. So if we're talking $100,000 here towards, you know, light retrofitting, the judge and the commissioners have emailed and having an idea coming back on, you know, just how do we support a local chamber of commerce? When I hear like Fort Davis has McDonald's Observatory, we've got McDonald's, you know, which is just as important for people driving through the area. So those things like how do you really build and support a local business community so that you can build a stronger tax base in that part?
I mean, at the end of the day, and I guess it's my free market, but at the end of the day, you have to attract private capital. You have to have people that wake up every morning and say, I'm willing to risk my capital, to put a business in Alpine or Brewster County, and I'll stick to it through thick and thin. Some won't make it, but some will. And the government's job is to support that in every way it can, but it's not our job to, I can't start them out like, that's not the county's job. So I gotta make it so friendly, so welcoming to come here and say, I'm willing to put $100,000 in. And that's, I think that what we're lacking is how do we, I mean, I sense when I leave this town, and I know y'all do too, that people want to come out here. There's a pent up demand to see this area. We're already seeing it with 600,000 visitors. So there's demand there. But how do you get people then to say, as Martin said, okay, I want to invest in Alpine, or I want to invest in Brewster County. And that's the thing that I'm not seeing. I'm not saying we don't have some new people coming in. I'm delighted to see that we have somebody that said, hey, I want to open an Italian restaurant. I think that's fantastic. People are opening a nursery out at the old Apache trading post. Look, anybody.
But you're having the same thing over and over, competing against the same people. We need new stuff. We don't need them competing against stuff that's already trying to make a living here.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, but how do we make it attractive? How do we get people to say, and this is capital of this thing, this is work?
If we had, we press on them living out here, it's not necessarily the financial gain, but quality of life. And that's going back to parts of the promotion. There is no one promotion that's gonna work, but it's the quality of life. And we also have to look to see what the voids are. What are we missing here? You know, I mentioned to someone the other day that you look to see where the voids are, and then you try to capitalize that, and you're still not gonna make as much money as you would wanna make, but you could at least make enough to exist. So, you don't come out here to seek $1 million, but you come out here to seek happiness.
No, I think it's about.
Judge, and you've heard me speak with this numerous times, and I think this is an opportunity for everybody to hear it, but in Fort Davis, I look at one family moving away, and that hurts Jeff Davis County because we don't have the population. It really affects us, one family leaving, Randy knows it. But I drive and look and think, none of us, the Tri-County area has any type of industry. We all rely on property taxes. I'm tired of seeing people leave here to die in Jeff Davis County. That's my deal. They leave Brewster County. They're looking for health care. One thing that I look at that is the most important thing for any community to develop and thrive is housing, education, and healthcare. Those three things are imperative. If you don't have them, I mean, look at the Old West. They had those same things. That's the way the towns got established. We are missing by not having continuous care here to hold elderly people. Let them die here. Let's bury them. Because you have their taxes throughout. Their kids are coming back here to take care of them. That is an opportunity. Plus, you have Saul Ross here. Let's work with Saul Ross, get their education beefed up, get it going again. That's going to benefit all three counties. It's one of the most important things is all that we work together in benefiting each other. Because what's good in Fort Davis helps Brewster, and vice versa. We just don't have as much as you guys do. In Presidio County, same thing. We are each other's first response. So that's just my thought on how do we hold them and build. It's those three things and working, housing, education, and healthcare. And those three things will attract more people. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you, Manny. I'm very happy and excited that we are all here together trying to see for the future of this community, working county and city. I know this happened before, but I think it's a big advance. As a business owner for 25 years, I haven't seen a big difference in Alpine. when I opened my business 25 years ago, there were so many other businesses. Downtown was alive. A lot of tourists buying clothes, food, so many diversity of businesses. And I was very active in the Chamber of Commerce. Now I see that Alpine has been declined so much. Yeah, we want tourists to come, but we just not gonna offer a beautiful dark sky. They need stores to buy, food to eat, restaurants. So we need to focus on that too. And I'm so glad that we're working, putting our money together to encourage more business, like he mentioned, new businesses that we need to provide a needs of this community, so people don't need to go to Walmart, don't need to go to other places, so they can find locally here. Groceries, they're very expensive with only one grocery store, and only store, women love to shop, and we don't have shoe store, we don't have variety of clothes here, so we need to focus on all those needs as children, what they need. So yeah, the sky is beautiful. I'm so happy that we're working together, but we need to focus on that whole thing. Besides the tourists, support new businesses.
Councilmember Portillo?
Thank you, Mayor. Same as everybody else is saying, but as a small town, I've told a lot of my buddies that I've called, that live in bigger cities, I said, on a weekend, say Saturday, I go over there, like, what are you doing? Like, how many other places like Alpine can you sit here and I'm watching a baseball game, a college game, college football, something, right? So what we have Saw Ross. And a lot of families, and I hear this a lot, from families that come down with their kids or law enforcement, young couples. There's nothing here. So say a family comes in, their kids here to visit Saw Ross. All right, let's go to a restaurant, where we eat. Well, you gotta get there by 6, 7 o'clock, or nothing's open. Or you might be lucky, you might not be lucky, and nothing's open. Say somebody's feet are hurting and, hey, we need, mom's sitting there going, well, let's go find some shoes. What? We don't have nothing here. We used to have Anthony's, we had Bell's, we had, Perry's, we had Wynn's, we had Forsheimers, right? I mean, we had a lot of stuff growing up here, being born and raised here, it was, and I, as long as I've been here, I have seen a decline in a lot of stuff. But what do we have that most don't? Okay, we've got Saw Ross. What else is big around here? Free range hunting. Let's build, let's use that, to our advantage that we have that, most communities don't have. But my biggest is really Saw Ross that we have that most don't.
I mean, we got a lot to be thankful for. We've got a hospital that seems to be of all the private hospitals around making money. We got a university. We got a pretty stable a base with government and so I think we
And a radio station,
yeah, we got radio station.
a newspaper.
And a movie theater.
That's right. I'm having a hard time
Yes.
connecting 600,000 people coming. And that when I started here, it was 250,000 people. Now there's 600,000. I'm having a hard time disconnecting. Why is 600,000 people? Why is that population growing? But yet Alpine, and I'll just say Alpine, is going the opposite way. I can't figure out why.
It's those people that they're that leave the city for the rural. They want to see, there's no, you can't build nature, and the parks and stuff like that. So the growth of the park is coming from people from the cities because they want something different. If you go to San Antonio, Houston, Chicago, Indianapolis, they all look the same. You've got the La Quinta next to the whatever, you've got Home Depot, you got, all of those, everything is just, they're all the same. It's the separation, it's the fact that we're different, I think, is bringing the people down here because we're offering something that they can't get anywhere else.
There's no housing for people to grow.
Excuse me?
I mean, we don't have any housing for people to grow, to have families to.
Oh, we got space though, and houses can be built and, but you're from Marathon. Marathon's done a great job. They can talk about private industry, which JP has done over there in Marathon. He's maybe not everybody likes what he does, but he provides employment and he's put his own money into things that are bringing people.
So let me ask this question. If half the people that went to Big Bend this year, if 300,000 people, half, that was a lot of people, spent one night extra in Alpine, Texas, one night. How much would that generate in revenue? And would that revenue be sufficient for people to say, damn, I think I'll open a restaurant. I think I might open a bar at a restaurant. I think I might open a mountain biking place. It's because they're gonna stay here and ride my bikes. From there, it all this takes time. Nothing happens overnight. We're Americans. We want everything to happen overnight, right? But from there, housing gets built because now there's capital. Now there's people saying, hey, there's a movement here that I'll go out and build some houses. I'll get you rich with you and I'll spec some houses out. But we're not, it's not being driven. We're not driving that. Those 600,000 people are doing something. They're spending money like crazy down south.
But there's not a lot being spent here.
Why aren't they spending?
No place to stay, you know, hotels, there's hotels, motels, there's really, there's nothing here.
And
Why isn't there? But again, why isn't there, right? Why don't we have places for these people to stay at? Again, is it something with the city that regulations and things that maybe we have to be a little more lenient on, on some things to allow building, to allow, industry, people to move in, I mean, I was always on the other side. Now I'm on the council, and listen to back and forth on what's going on for the longest time. Yes, sir. Yeah. And for the longest time, the city made it complicated for people to open businesses, to build homes here, to do this, do that. I hear it all the time. I'm sorry, I
think all those are overcomable with people hungry to put capital in our community. All those are surmountable. But we're not getting that.
And the thing is, we do have places to stay. The number of Airbnbs has skyrocketed tremendously, and then you have the different hotels around, but do people know that? So what Chris is having Heather do, I think is fabulous. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but she's doing these videos on Facebook, and I don't know where else you guys know, Instagram, TikTok. Okay. You saw it on TikTok. Anyway, when she's going around, she's highlighting these Airbnbs, places to stay, and these businesses and restaurants. So I think Chris may be on the right track there. So we all know what we need. We need jobs, we need houses, we need this, that, bring people in. And that number actually last week, they said it was 78,000. So it's 100,000 more that are coming down to the park. How do we do this? We don't have an action plan. We can all sit around and talk about what all we need, but how do we fix it? What do we do? What was Toliqua's success?
Close 385.
So what do you think, John?
Close 385, send them this way.
What do you actually the mayor asked, so what do we do from this point on? What I would suggest is you do standard inventory of resources, inventory of the existing infrastructure. For instance, I did it for Jeff Davis County several years ago, looking at some things, not for the county, but over Jeff Davis County. So once you solve your water and your wastewater, and of course AEP takes care of the power, then you start looking at, okay, what industries exist? Well, you've got ag, you've got education. With education is research, which is not education. I'm not talking about 4-year traditional education. From all the research is coming up. Look how much notice that BRI and the Center for Big Bend Studies have brought forth their national research. So when you look at those things, so you say, okay, here's what we have. We have agriculture in all of its various means. And then we have education, then we have educational research, which is it's a paid thing. And create your inventory, find out what your resources are, and then you can come back and say, okay, here's what we have on the shelf. Here's what's ready to go now. No pie in the sky stuff. But one of the things that I would encourage Judge Evans to keep an eye out on is it's not just the Tiquas, but the people who open up the other side of the Tiquas for these AI centers coming in. Because there's one going in Santa Teresa, and you've got, they're going to encroach, and there's a lot of dead land. I mean, you look at Antelope Hills, Antelope Valley, whatever. So anyway, find out what you got in terms of existing infrastructure. What can be built, what can turn a dollar today? Tourism obviously is it. Now, to answer the question, Mayor, about why there's 600,000 people able to go to Big Bend is because there's 600,000 places to stay down there. And they don't have to drive 80 miles one way. And that's, and you know this, to be a problem is the explosion of short-term rentals and accommodation industry in South County.
Yes, I was just going to mention, like, to me, the economy is just confidence in future cash flow, like you said. People aren't going to invest when they have a promise or confidence in future cash flow. I was going to say, Mr. Portillo, kind of what he was mentioning, I agree with 100%. The county and the city making it as easy as possible to get into business. To me, that's a function of a chamber of commerce because they should be lobbying for businesses to present themselves in front of both organizations to say, I mean, Mr. Lucas has said this as well, but well, both of y'all were at that one meeting and y'all were talking about electrical stuff that I knew nothing about, of how much it dramatically increases the cost to build a home and develop a home, things that I'm not aware of. So I think that lobbying part is an important part of the chamber to get in front of you guys. And then the last one I was going to say with Chris Ruja is a lot of the, yes, Big Bend is a huge economic driver here, but Pam Knappen, Chris, had a podcast on her recently. They talked about all the successes happening up there in Fort Davis. And I think there was 8 businesses opening in the next 6 months to a year. And I was picking her brain the other night at the art walk thing, and she said, I was like, how are y'all doing this? And she said, positive business climate and relationships, getting people together to where they can really talk and just pop ideas off of each other and support each other.
You know, the last thing to that, there's nobody asking for the bid, there's somebody who, hey, you ever thought about coming out and investing in Brewster, updated for city county? There's nobody doing that. And that's what drives me crazy in El Paso. There's somebody out there asking for the business. You gotta do that too.
Well, this is a segue and we can wrap here in a second. Two things I would ask. One, we spend money on any economics. Do we need to do a hardcore economic study of our area? Is that worth the money spent to really look at real hard numbers about who we are and what's driving us? And
No, we did one a couple of years ago, but it wasn't a hardcore study. It was with the Soil Ross Small Development Center.
Just off all the other ones, I think that I'd like to leave here tonight with maybe a small working group to continue this discussion from both the county and the city. If that's something y'all want to do.
I think that's a great idea because we need an action plan. We need to put it in action. So I think we all know what the problems are, but how do we overcome them? How? That's the question.
I mean, I think like an entrepreneur because I was one.
Right.
I want to open a steakhouse and a nice bar so bad I can taste them, no pun intended. But I can't get in my mind how many people there to pay for it.
That's the challenge. That is
But
exactly.
that's my mindset. I would open a world-class, I don't care about the labor. I know I'll have a hard time finding labor. I don't work, but the question is there a demand? Is there enough people that would come to the bar and eat a nice steak? That may be a fool's bet, don't get me wrong, but it's just sort of like one of the things I think.
I think you should build it and maybe they'll come.
Maybe you guys. But but that's kind of, but if I knew there was 300,000 people staying here one night.
Yep.
I could feed us, I could have a nice thing. Yes. With a good bar and I put most of work and Jim worked at the bar.
I'll give you one little example, on the other little sideline job of the hunting port. And now I have to hire a cook and hire a house big enough to house my guys. Because there's not a restaurant in the evening when we get in to feed nobody.
Right.
So you can't have breakfast. No, you can't bring nobody to town for none of the meals.
Right.
At lunch, you can't get there unless you get there at 10:45. True. But I mean, so you can't spend the money in town that you want to spend because I don't want to cook for them.
I know, so the last thing you want to be is in the restaurant business, and now you are.
Right.
Yes. I mean,
You want to be in the hunting business, in the restaurant.
I mean, I'm telling you, in 6 weeks, I've had of gross $140,000. Me?
In hunt.
Yes.
Yeah, you're the one, and people are discovering this is the place to hunt elk.
Right.
That.
Well, Texas, they'll be big. They have been.
So, all right, well, I would say that we leave here with a working committee, which I'm happy to be part of, love to be part of.
Yeah.
And, we reconvene, later in the winter and see where we are.
From your point, what is a working committee? Look how to 3 from each.
So every one of us is set on about 12 committees that
Uh-huh.
does the same thing. So as the county judge, I'm more out of committees talking about the same thing. That's my reluctance to form another committee.
Correct.
We do it at the Hubble. We did it in that Big Bend Citizens a lot, or no, the Alpine Alliance.
Yeah. Alpine Community Projects, you know.
It drives me wild, and I know we have to talk, don't get me wrong, Lucy's right, we have to talk through this, but golly, we did a lot of talking. And not enough,
not enough.
not enough action.
Mhm.
But I don't have your answer. I really don't.
Well, that's the problem. You say if you build it, they will come, but no one, someone has to blink. The chicken or the egg.
That's correct.
As long as the infrastructure is not here, no one's gonna stop, spend the night. They've just driven 800 miles to go to Big Bend. It's only 8 miles more. I'm going down to my Airbnb down there. It's a whistle stop on the way to Big Bend. There's no incentive to stay here any longer than you have to. The other generals are most likely making out great. Now, not even that, because you got a beautiful one in South County. So, yeah, it's something has to give.
I had a customer this morning from Czechoslovakia. He just stayed in Alpine to go to see McDonald's Observatory.
Yeah.
So he stayed tonight. He keep going to something
Good.
else.
There's tons of that going on.
And once you get out here, the distance to, Fort Davis to Marfa to South County isn't that big anymore.
Yeah.
You've already gone hundreds and hundreds of miles to get here. But what's another 80 or so? So I don't see why they're moving on.
Judge, like Mo just said, the other thing that we hadn't talked about, that we got airport.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's true.
There is a subsidy that, and it was done here before, an airport can be created in a frontier area. There is one in McAllen, there's one in Silver City. And what it is to get people to your doctors, to your mental hubs. And the tickets are subsidized through government programs. And this was brought to my attention by the former county attorney in Marfa, or Presidio County, John Foltz. And it is an opportunity and it needs to be researched because y'all do things so smart. It's definitely a plus for, people can travel from here to the Dallas Cowboys, but they can turn around and come right back. There's an opportunity for people to bring their mountain bikes on the plane, like you're saying, it's a good, I think those are great opportunities, right?
We had that when we had like Lone Star Airlines.
Yeah, we had
But the money that's taken away,
Yes.
and that's the problem, and you can't, and
That's it. It just has to be the stronger lobbying group and the feds in order to fund.
Or you wanna just leave it, and let you and I get back together, and we'll form a working group between the two of us. And, we'll talk some more.
Okay, as far as branding, what's the next step?
Branding, well, we back to Star brand, or we don't.
The dark sky. I mean, do we need to reach out to our representative, our state representative?
I think we claim it. I just claim it and be done with
I would
it.
tell you, before we go any further, we want to get a lock on the name.
I think we just claim, like we own it.
Yeah. Let someone else complain.
Yeah, we want to trademark.
I trademark it right now, so it comes in, then it's done.
Can't see that from
I don't know, I mean, as of tonight, I officially say that we are the dark sky capital of Texas.
There you go.
The three counties.
Three counties of the dark sky capital.
Yes.
Okay.
Let it be
What's
real.
up in the center? So, no, I think we just own it, well, Mayor, I think it's, but,
Council.
sure.
Yes.
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 Everybody in this room, I look around the room, everybody in this room is some sort of an entrepreneur. A business, I mean, look, I mean, I look at everybody. Darren wants to be in the mountain bike business so bad he can taste it. I just gotta give him the incentive to do it. That's right, exactly. Roads. I mean, Chris has a business. Martin, he bought a radio station, crying out loud, right? You didn't have to do that. You saw something in that. So, I mean, there's a lot of business people sitting at the table.
I came out here in the 80s on motorcycles because the road between Presidio and Lajitas was marked as one of the best motorcycling roads in America.
Right.
And I said, I gotta see this.
Survive.
So, yeah, I mean, that was a marketing effort.
Everybody at the stations and.
So Judge, how many council persons now need to meet?
You know, my feeling is no more, any more than seven's a crowd, so 7 people tops, and we grind it, and then look from there, we can figure out some subcommittees and other.
Yeah.
Wish lists that we want to go after, but. I guess I'm looking for a different. I don't know what I want, Rick, but I want something different than the same old talk that we're in for. Look, the 13 Ways to Kill Your Committee was great, I enjoyed all that. Well, we haven't done anything with it, and, you know, what'll happen, I'm afraid, is that 6 months from now, we're tired of meeting. I don't know how to keep the spark alive. That's the struggle for me, but, I will always talk, and I know you guys will too, always will talk business with somebody. Dream, I think it's about dreaming and vision. Saying, okay, how can we, positive attitude, you know, talk with each other and all that good stuff. But, no, we'll do it now. Well, we'll just leave 3 million on the table. We could probably drive it up and start some new business.
Then we'll go in my truck and a chair.
All right, I think this has been productive. And I think I'd like to do it every 6 months or so, if you guys see fit. I thank all for coming.
Thank you very much.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I entertain motion to adjourn. We'll do it like.
Yes.
Motion and second.